Today let's see how to make a Tibetan noodle soup called the Thukpa. So for the Thukpa, I have made a flavorful chicken broth using 400 grams of chicken with the bone, 10 cups of water, a large onion sliced, and 7 to 8 cloves of garlic. I've kept this broth to boil for almost 45 minutes to an hour, and now I'm going to shut the flame and I'm going to strain the stock. So here is our flavorful chicken stock that we're going to use for the Thukpa. Now I'm going to make a paste of 1 tomato, 1 onion, 2 tablespoons of fresh coriander, 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, a small piece of ginger. Here I have the bird's eye chili, which I'm going to use just one of them because they're really spicy. But if it's not easily available where you are, you can use any other chili. So one of the main ingredients for the Thukpa is also the Schezwan pepper or the Timur. So I'm going to add the flakes of it, about a teaspoon of these flakes. Now let's grind this to a nice paste without water. Our basic paste for the Thukpa is ready. So the stock is ready, the paste is ready. Now let's cook the Thukpa. For that, heat a tablespoon of oil, and once the oil is hot, I'm going to saute this paste. So I'm going to saute this on a high flame for 3 to 4 minutes. To this, let's add 1 cup of carrot that I have really sliced thin, and a cup of shredded cabbage. Just let's toss this in the paste for a minute. And now let's add the chicken stock to this. Let's add some salt. And let's bring this to a boil. Our broth with the chicken and the vegetables is ready. Now let's assemble the Thukpa. For that, I have noodles that I have boiled here. So whichever noodles you use, see the instructions on the package and make them accordingly. I'm going to take some noodles in a bowl. To this, I'm going to add the stock. I have some boiled and shredded chicken here, which I'm going to add. I'm going to drizzle some chili soy. So I took some soy sauce and then I just finely chopped some bird's eye chili in that. And I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of it. I'm going to garnish this with finely chopped greens of spring onion, some coriander, and our Thukpa is ready to be served. This warm, flavorful noodle soup is comforting in the winters.
Today's recipe is a cheats version of a Malaysian chicken laksa. I'm going to begin this recipe with dried red chilies. Now these are Kashmiri red chilies. There's that Indianness in this recipe because I need a combination of spice in this recipe along with a lot of natural red color. This brings out that nice bright red color, especially in a Thai curry paste. I'm going to remove the stalks and tear the chilies. To this, I'm going to add in coriander stalks. I'm using coriander stalks in this recipe. Well, generally, you could also use coriander roots. Now, I do not want the color of coriander in this recipe. I primarily want the flavor. Roots and stalks in this case work perfectly well. Well, right towards the end, I'm also going to add in coriander powder, and that's to bring in the curry nature of this recipe. The next ingredient that goes in, bird's eye chilies. Now, this is a classic Thai chili. Extremely pungent, extremely spicy. The choice is completely yours whether you want to go really all out and bring in that spice in this recipe or really go moderate. I'm keeping this recipe moderate because I'm also going to balance this off with coconut milk. I want that nice creaminess in this recipe. Not too many, but a few, yeah. To balance all these flavors and bring out sweetness in this recipe, I'm going to use sugar. Now this is classic grain sugar. By all means, you could also use palm sugar or jaggery. Stalks of lemongrass, Thai basil, galangal, shallots, cloves of garlic, fresh kaffir lime leaves, turmeric powder. Well, this brings out that wonderful golden color of this laksa. In case you can lay your hands on fresh turmeric, go all out and bring that to use as well. And finally, coriander powder. Well, unroasted, untoasted coriander seeds and the powder here. And last but not the least, soy sauce. Well, I'm using dark soy sauce, so I'm going really little on the quantity because I do not want the final color to change at all. And finally, I'm going to grind this into a fine and smooth paste. The laksa paste. Let's move on to cooking this. In a wok, I'm going to take some oil. Now this is regular vegetable oil. Any seed oil is absolutely perfect. Well, do not take a very strong smelling oil. Just keep it nice and neutral. Once the oil just kind of begins to heat up, it's not hot at this point in time, we're going to add in the curry paste. Curry paste and hot oil is equal to kitchen accidents. To avoid that, ensure that the oil is just kind of beginning to heat up, and that's where you add in the curry paste and you keep stirring this till the oil initially all gets absorbed and then it starts releasing towards the sides of the pan. That's the whole idea and trick here. Once all the oil reappears, we're going to add in water. Well, you can also add in stock at this stage, but trust me, I'm going to cook the chicken in the same broth, and that's why I'm not going to require any stock in this case. The next ingredient that goes in, of course, chicken. Let's add in strips of chicken breast, boneless of course. And to this, I'm also going to add in noodles. Now, generally what we do is, we boil the noodles separately and then we add it to this recipe. But I am cooking it all together, literally like a one pot laksa for all of you. One quick stir. And finally, last but not the least, salt as required. And after this, promise just one more ingredient to take this to an absolutely next level. Let's see what that is. But before that, allow the chicken and the noodles to cook well in this broth. With this, our Malaysian laksa is done and ready. And like I said, just one more ingredient, and that is to take this to a complete next level, coconut cream. This will of course naturally thicken with the noodles as well. Imagine the flour in the noodles starts leaching into the laksa, and that will start thickening it. The coriander powder and the shallots will also thicken it, and then eventually when you add the cream, it becomes nice and creamy. With that, off goes the flame and the laksa goes straight in the serving bowl. To serve this broth, finally, You take the noodles, you take the chicken, keep them on one side. You add in the broth right next to it. And you top it up with soft boiled or hard boiled egg. Eventually garnish this with some bird's eye chili and lots of coriander. With this, ladies and gentlemen, your cheats version of Malaysian chicken laksa is done and ready. While there is still that little nip in the air, make this for your family, make this for your friends, and see how they smile back at you.
There's nothing more comforting than a piping hot bowl of soup during the winter, which is why I'm going to make a hot and sour soup with loads of chicken. The wok is nice and hot, so I'm going to add a tablespoon of flavorless oil and immediately add some finely chopped garlic. This is about 1.5 teaspoons. And I've added 1 teaspoon of finely chopped ginger. Just swirl that around. Just as soon as this becomes fragrant, add the vegetables. I'm going to start with about 1/3 of a cup of finely chopped carrot and a similar quantity of the French beans. We're just looking to stir fry these. Now to these veggies, I'm going to add some finely chopped button mushrooms. These are just about 3 large button mushrooms that I've just minced up really finely. The reason why I've added the mushrooms later is because they have a much faster cooking time. So that's looking good. Now it's time to add the seasonings. This is a hot and sour soup. So I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of black pepper, some chili powder, this is a chicken hot and sour soup, so now it's time to add the chicken. I've got 100 grams of chicken, boneless chicken, that I've just poached in some water with just a little bit of salt, pepper, and just chopped it up really finely, just shredded it really finely, because again in a soup you want everything to just melt into your mouth. Lovely. Now the chicken is taking on the flavor. Now it's time to add the chicken stock. You can use a vegetable stock, you can use plain water. Any of those things is absolutely fine. This is very close to being done, but now we have to add more elements of hot and sour. So there's some dark soy sauce. Now it's time to add the sour bit of our hot and sour soup, and that sourness comes from plain white vinegar. Now I would urge you to actually just use this plain white vinegar and not, please don't ask about apple cider vinegar because that really doesn't go in this recipe. Stir that in. One final step is to add the egg drop part to the soup. For that I've just got 1 egg here which I'm just whisking bit by bit. I know some people add this like in one go, then what you end up getting is like a big streamy runny egg, but add this bit by bit to get the egg drop. Now in this recipe, because I've used dark soy sauce, it's added enough salt into the recipe, so I'm not adding any table salt to it. In fact, I'm going to add just about a little less than a tablespoon more instead of salt, and another tablespoon of vinegar. Stir that in, and that's it. And I really hope that you will try this recipe too. It's perfect for the winter.
Today's recipe is an absolute zanzanit, tartarit crab soup from the heart of Maharashtra. This one is a spicy crab soup. Let's see how it's made. Now, because the core ingredient of this entire recipe are crabs. The crabs have to be of absolute optimum quality. Now there are some lunar days. You need to actually follow the lunar calendar while you're purchasing crabs. Now your mongers can actually give you the perfect analysis of when to buy and when not to buy. Whether you buy the female crab or you buy the male crab, it all depends on the flap which is at the back. If it's a kind of a bigger flap, then that one is the female variety. If you have a narrower flap, that is the male variety. Now you can prefer, the choice is completely yours. What's important is to bring it home and to actually brush it. Literally the way you polish your shoes, you actually need to polish the crabs because it has a lot of murk around it. Now the crabs that I've used are mud crabs, so they're black in color. In case you're using sea crabs, they're kind of cleaner because of course the seawater is cleaner, but the whole choice is completely yours. It's important to bring it home, to scrub it before cutting. Very important. You scrub it well, you wash it well, and that is when you cut it. Now you can actually open it up completely or cut it into two, the way I prefer. The next is to keep it soaked in water. Very important again, you can drain it out, but then it starts kind of leaching out some black colored liquid, which I kind of find a little untoward. So I prefer keeping it in water. And after that, I begin the rest of the process, which is making the masala. So let's see how that's done.
Let's begin with some oil. This is regular vegetable oil. And in this, I'm going to fry sliced dry coconut. Once the coconut turns golden brown in color, I'm going to add in sliced onions, some cloves of garlic, slices of ginger, and some green chilies. Stir this till the onions this time turn golden brown in color. Well, even if they just kind of begin to turn translucent, that's absolutely fine. A quick few mixes. And time to add in coriander leaves, along with this powdered garam masala, turmeric, and chili powder as required. Let's stir all this well. And at this stage, I'm also going to add in some salt as required. Once this is sauteed, off goes the flame, and we allow the mixture to cool down completely. Once this cools down, we need to grind this into an absolute fine and smooth paste. In the same vessel in which we had sauteed the spices, I'm going to add in some more oil and transfer our spice paste. We begin to saute this till it's well fried and fragrant. Allow this to reduce to almost half. Well, that way the color will intensify and will thicken well. We need to keep stirring the spice mix intermittently to avoid burning at the bottom and the sides. Once oil starts leaving the sides of the pan, we add in our crab.
The crabs are cleaned and ready, the masala is done and ready. Now the soup is an absolute breeze. Let's see how.
We give all of this one final stir before adding in water. Now this is the water which is from the residual masala in the grinder. We allow this to cook on medium to high flame for 8 to 10 minutes or till the crabs are perfectly well done.
Once the crab kind of changed their color from black to deep orange, that's when the anthocyanin in the crab actually kind of gets accentuated or activated. This is the sign that the crab meat is perfectly cooked. It has to be nice, it has to be succulent, it has to be juicy and not dried out. Remember. With this, your spicy crab soup is done and ready. Now you can actually splash in some lemon juice, sprinkle in some freshly cracked pepper, or throw in some freshly chopped coriander leaves. Now this is completely your personal choice. I like it just like that. No rice, no toppings, no additions, no accompaniments, absolutely nothing. Just this and
A good soup recipe is one that has to be easy to make, the ingredients should be easily available, and this tomato egg drop soup is exactly all of those things plus super comforting. I'm going to start with sprinkling some coarse salt on the tomatoes. Tomatoes have had about 5-10 minutes to rest, so now I'm going to start cooking. First thing into my pan here is going to be some oil. You don't need too much. And now almost immediately add some spring onion, the white part that's been chopped up. I'm not looking to brown the onions and neither the garlic. And speaking of garlic, you really don't need too much of it in this recipe, but make sure that it's finely chopped. Add that in and we're just looking to cook this for a few seconds till the raw aroma goes away. Now I'm going to add the tomatoes. Try to add them cut side down, but if you can't, you can always stir them around later. Once you've added the tomatoes, keep the flame down to low and cover them and let them cook. You want them to cook down to almost mushy. So give this about 5 to 10 minutes. Keep an eye on it. If you feel it's burning or browning, add some water. It's been about 10 minutes, so it's time to check on the tomatoes. Ooh, nice and pulpy. Nothing is burnt. So now at this stage, I'm quickly going to add some pepper. Saute that in. Once you've stirred the pepper in, it's time to add some stock. You can use chicken or vegetable, anything of your choice. Just add that in. Once you've added the stock, it's time to add the flavorings. I'm going to start with a little bit of tomato ketchup. Adds a hint of sweetness, not too much, and of course, its own unique flavor. Next in will be some soy sauce. I prefer using light soy sauce in this recipe, because obviously it'll add less saltiness and also the color that it leaves in the soup will be lighter. Stir that in. I've let the soup bubble away for about a few minutes. So now it's time to thicken it up, and for that I'm going to use a cornstarch or corn flour slurry mixed with some water. Stir it around and just add it into the soup. Stir that in and take the flame up to high to let the soup thicken. The soup has thickened up slightly, but remember we have to add our egg drop right in the end, which will thicken it further. So now that it's bubbling away, I'm going to turn it off, let it cool for a minute. Time to turn it into the egg drop part of the tomato egg drop soup. I've got an egg here that I've just whisked. Now I'm just going to swirl this around in the pan here and drop by drop, drop a little bit of the egg, whisk it in. The residual heat is enough to cook the egg through, and now the final touch is to just snip in some green parts of the spring onion. We're ready to eat our yummy soup.